everybody? Welcome back. The History Guy here. This is it. It is April 10th, 1865, historically the day after Robert E. Lee surrendered to General Grant at Appomattox, and we are assaulting the city of Washington itself. They outnumber us by 30,000 men, and we have to take 6 forts ringing the city, and honestly, this is my very first look at this battle. I just don't see how on earth I'm able to do that. I feel like I would need twice as many men as I have in order to make this happen. This first fort, I have 2 hours to take it. Right now, I outnumber him 23,000 to 5,000, but I know that's not going to last. So there's not even time in 2 hours to get any kind of real good strategy here. I would ideally like to come up around this side and hit the fort from the rear. But with that kind of time constraint, I don't have time to do that. I've just got to hurl my men as quickly as possible straight at the fort and then hope for the best. I do not expect to win this battle the first time, but at least you'll get a glimpse of what we're up against, and then we can start talking strategy, try to figure out exactly how this is supposed to go, and figure out a way to win it without having to go back and play the entire campaign over again so I can have more men to make it happen the second time. I'm losing men even before I get within sight of the fort. And the worst part is here, I got to go across this water, through the woods, and up a hill. And that means if any of my units retreat, and I'm sure most of them will, they're going to retreat all the way down, which means it's going to take forever to get them back up again. I'm going to try to throw everybody I can right at the same exact spot. Just try to overrun it. This is actually my secondary attack force, so that is first, I guess, rather than the main attack, which apparently will come later. See, the time's almost halfway gone before I even get into position to begin an attack, and that's going straight at them. Okay. So as soon as I see him, I'm going to issue the charge order. And now we're going to come under canister fire, and it's going to get really ugly. I'm shooting at guys I can't even see at the moment. Alright, send these skirmishers up. Maybe I can get a glimpse of him a little faster that way. Where is that brigade? Why can't I even see him? There he is. Okay. Charge. You charge the battery. And let's just try to overrun this guy. He's already gotten his first batch of reinforcements. His number of men just doubled. What are you doing, Hampton? Go. Oh, he's blocked. That's why. And there goes my first unit retreating. And that's where it's going to get ugly, because it's going to take forever to get those guys back up here. Come on, take this battery out. Alright, we got our first units up and into the fort, but I'm not sure they're going to stay there. And there goes Baxter. Alright, General Lee, you're going to have to get up here and help with this. Come on, guys. If we could just dislodge Payne. And here comes his reinforcements. Awesome. Hurry up, guys. Get into that fort. My goodness. I feel like I'm going to just start to make some... AP Hill was just killed. Which is interesting because historically this was the week that he was killed. He was killed about a week before the surrender. Oh, come on. I feel like I'm going to just finally overrun the fort just as his reinforcements pour into it. There we go. We finally dislodged Payne, but now half of my brigades are all the way down at the bottom of the hill again. And here come the reinforcements. Oh my gosh, look at all that. I don't even have time to get my artillery up in there before he hits me again. I haven't even driven him out yet. Run back into that fort, people. Come on. Oh, goodness. I've got one brigade that's still hanging on in here. Because he's still got Rucker up there. Nagel's toast. Come on, guys. And here come more reinforcements. And I just got driven off. Goodness gracious. Now nobody's in the fort. I finally drive him off. And now nobody's in there. Run. Okay, guys. I know you're in no condition to be running. But I just need people in there right now. Why is nobody moving? Alright, at least I got some artillery up in there now. But I have no infantry. And here he comes. Run! Please. My one battery made it in. And they're getting hit and they're getting driven off. Darn it. And now we're all going to fight over the fort again. Just as I get men in there, he does too. Wow, this is all about timing, I guess. And I didn't have it. Jeez. I can't even keep anybody in the fortification. As soon as they get there, they get driven off. Goodness. Well, at least there's only 17 minutes left, and I may, in fact, actually still be holding this fort when it's over. We'll see here in a second. Yeah, get out of my fort. Go. That's right. Jeez. This is brutal. And this is just the beginning. There are 6 forts. And he's got way more men than I do. Alright. Mission time's up. My goodness. Alright, so there's part 1. Now we move on to the attack on Fort Stevens, which is the main attack, main assault force. Let's see what happens. We are now advancing from the north. Wow. Our main target is Fort Stevens, the biggest and strongest fort in the region. One of our soldiers has spotted Lincoln observing us from his binoculars from Fort Stevens barricades. He ain't staying there for long, no doubt, after watching our veterans coming down to him. That's also historical. Lincoln did go out to observe the fighting against Jubal Early's raid in 1864. The Bluecoats are now responding to our attack and have dispatched infantry from Washington's defenses. Bad news for us. Good news for our soldiers that are executing the flanking maneuver. They will fight fewer Yankees. We've also spotted enemy movements in those farms ahead of us. It seems they have attempted to delay us behind those fences. We must deal with them fast and move south. Okay, so once again, he's got more men than I do. Oh, you mean we're still continuing this fight over this fort? Awesome. I was hoping at least that part was over with. So the good news is we just got some reinforcements. The bad news is we're still trying to take this fort. It looks like maybe he's giving up on this one. Elements of Hooker's 20th Corps sighted. They're defending the farms ahead of us. All right. Good news is I think the fight for this fort is just about over. Bad news is there's so much more to fight. Alright, we gotta quickly overrun these positions. Check on the fort. Come on, General Lee, get up there. Alright, we're overrunning these guys. Bad news is that just means now we gotta go take this other fort. Alright, we're gonna drop Bear back a little bit here. General Longstreet was killed, so I've lost A.P. Hill and James Longstreet. Heavy artillery is reinforcing the enemy. Lovely. I can't even feel excited about the fact that I'm overrunning these guys here, because this is the easy part. Fighting the enemy in open field. I wish it would stay this way. Casualties. I've already lost 5,300 men. He's lost about 8,000, which is actually kind of surprisingly impressive. But he's still got a big advantage. We haven't even gotten in sight of Fort Stevens yet. Alright, just 2 hours to go. Sir Rommel, you just hang tight right there. Alright, let's bring up our artillery. Alright, we're going to have to try to figure out some order of attack here. Fort DeRussey's in pretty good shape. I'm going to drop Ward back, though. Lieutenant General Alex Magleton is killed. Wow, I'm losing a lot of high-ranking officers right now. Oh, Pender, you're getting too far out in front. Look at this guy flanking. I gotta slow my forces down a little bit here. Some of them are advancing too far ahead of the others. Alright, let's start shelling the fort. Here comes the ugly part. These guys are in no position to be assaulting a fort. Well, the good news is artillery appears to be low on ammo, and he doesn't have supplies in here. Not that that's necessarily a big help, but it's something. Oh, come on, he's getting more men in there. We gotta rush. I just don't see it. I don't see how it's possible with the manpower that I have. Already lost 31% of my second corps. So I think this is probably where this battle is going to end for me this first time around, but I'm already learning some things about what I'm going to need to do. I'm certainly going to need to put as many men as possible into the 1st and 2nd Corps and probably just deplete that flanking force. you have as many. You have basically 4 different positions that you can be attacking from. There's the main attack, which is this force here, the second part of the attack. There's the secondary attack, which actually was first, and that was this attack on this fort. And then there are a right flank attack and a left flank attack that you can put troops into. And I put my smallest force in the secondary attack. I may need to rethink that so that I have more troops that can not only overrun this first fort, but then I can shift over the extras to help assault Fort Stevens, and then just take my chances with smaller forces on the secondary attack, because I'm definitely going to have more men in order to take Fort Stevens. This was not enough to get it done. So I'll play this out, but I think this is probably where this first playthrough of the attack on Washington is going to end. But you know what? It's funny how this game works. Sometimes you think the battle's going to end and it doesn't, or sometimes you think you've won and you haven't. Sometimes you think you have more time and you don't. So we'll wait and see what happens. And that may affect my strategy moving forward. If I find out that I didn't have to take Fort Stevens right away here, that might affect how I attack it. I might not assault it so quickly and so haphazardly. I might take more time to get in position, get artillery up, and shell the fort for a little while if I have more time, if it allows that. Because I know eventually they all need to be held. That doesn't necessarily mean they all need to be held right now. And that certainly would make a difference. Because I think with a little better coordination of my troops, a few more men, better use of artillery, I probably could take this fort with a little more time. Certainly not now, just because of the number of men I've lost. But we'll see here in 5 minutes. So many generals lost. Alright, so yeah. It looks like you do not have to fight right there. You don't have to take the whole thing right away. So we'll play this out, but I think I've lost so many men already that I've probably put myself in a position where I can't win. Now we're attacking Fort Slocum. We received the last troops that will support the northern advance. The rest are heading south to flank the east side of the city. Actually, no, I'm flanking the west side of the city because I didn't send any troops on that right flank. Fort Slocum must be taken. Do I have anybody left to do that with? It doesn't look like I do. Yeah, so now, I mean, as you can see, I've basically got extra troops that I could have used on the attack on Fort Stevens, which I still may actually take. I've just lost so many men in doing it. I've lost 19,000 men already. And with him only having lost about 10, that means that he's now got about a 40,000 man advantage on me. And I really don't have any troops to spare to go down to take Fort Slocum. I've lost so many leaders already, too. Man, Louisiana Tigers, 131 kills, 800 deaths. Some Yankee cavalry is harassing our flank. Awesome, that's what we need. One more thing to worry about. So what do I know so far? I know that maybe rushing to overrun the fort probably is a good idea in this first one, just because it gets you to hold the fort and then you can kind of inflict a lot of casualties. Number 2, don't be in such a hurry to attack Fort Stevens, because it doesn't have to be taken in the first couple of hours that they give you. So that means there's time to coordinate a better attack, make better use of artillery. Don't just hurl all your men at the fort for the sake of trying to take it in the amount of time, because I feel like that handicapped me for the rest of the fight, especially for trying to take Fort Slocum, which seems like an impossible task for me right now. So I've already learned those things, and I think that'll come in handy playing through again. But I'll go ahead and play this out. I may have put myself in a position where I can't win now. Not that I'm sure I could have anyway, but at least we'll have a good look at what's going on in this battle and how the sections go. Because part of learning how to play Ultimate General Civil War is all about learning the timing of things, learning the order of things in these battles, what comes when, what do you need to anticipate for, when do you have to go for the objective, and when can you be more patient in going after the objective. I feel like that's something that's still not real clear in this game sometimes, but you just basically have to play through the battles and figure that out, and then you start to kind of get a feel for the rhythm of the game and the steps and the process. So that's what this first playthrough is for me, is trying to learn that process for the assault on Washington, so I'll have a better idea of exactly how best to go about winning this battle. So I've taken the fort. The question is, I don't know if I've got the manpower to hold the fort at this point. I have so few men left. I'm down to almost half strength. He outnumbers me by about 5,000 men now. Honestly, I don't know that I'm even going to attempt to take Fort Slocum. I'll just wait and see what happens, and see if that causes the battle to end right away, or if I'm still going to have more time to be able to do that. Supplies are empty, men are being routed. I hold half the fort pretty well. The other half, not so much. And I think he just got some more reinforcements. Maybe not. I gotta get this last brigade, Stedman, out of here. He's got 2,000 men. Alright, we'll speed things along here. Okay, we routed Stedman. Let me get the biggest brigade possible up on this wall now, and that looks like it's going to be Siegfried. Oh, now he's going to put his artillery back in position. Nah, they're routed. They're out of here. Alright, now let's hold the fort and cause some casualties on him for a while. But like I said, I am not going to attempt to take Fort Stevens. Now, that may end the battle for me, but I don't have the manpower to do it. So I'm hoping that there's a chance to do that later. So we'll just sit back and watch the last hour and 22 minutes. And see how it plays out. Of course, historically, there weren't just 6 forts ringing the city. There were dozens of forts. I want to say there were more than 50 of them. I could be wrong about that, but I know there were a ton. And they were manned by these, what they called the heavies, these heavy artillery units that had like 2,000 men in a regiment. My wife's ancestor was in one of those. It was the 2nd Pennsylvania Heavy Artillery. But what happened was in 1864, when Grant knew that the city of Washington was fairly safe, he took a lot of those heavy artillery regiments and turned them into infantry and put them in the field because he needed the manpower. And my wife's ancestor was one of those, and he actually ended up being wounded in the leg and captured by the Confederates in an assault on Petersburg, a place called Chaffin's Farm, and ended up having his leg amputated by a Confederate surgeon, and then he was paroled not long after. An hour to go. We definitely are not going to hold Fort Slocum. Not going to even try. I'm pretty content to cause as many casualties as possible on him. Right now he's got about 2,000 more men than I do. But I started with 8,000 more than him in this part of the battle. I'm going to get these 24-pounders up in the fort. Alright, we'll speed this along to the end and see if this is where it all ends for me. Tell you what, it sure feels better to be inside the fort than outside of it. Wow, Siegfried's lost 1,200 men. That's half his brigade. Some of them have lost more than that. Now Bane did really well. How could you not with a name like Bane? I mean, this is one of the superheroes that actually defeated Batman. 1,600 kills, 659 deaths. Not sure why he did so well. He's got Enfield rifles. It must have just been where he was in position in the battlefield compared to others. Alright, here comes an assault on the fort. Bye-bye, Henry. Not gonna happen. Hey, go get back in the fort. Alright, let's see if this ends the battle or if we get to continue on. Alright, we're gonna continue on. Excellent. So I'm gonna stop right there. That's 40 minutes. That's more than enough time for our first episode. The first half of the assault on Washington. I'm learning. I know there's a lot of mistakes I made, but a lot of it had to do with just trying to figure out how and when you need to take things. So I definitely would have put more men into this fight and taken more time to assault Fort Stevens. I wouldn't have assaulted it so quickly because I lost a lot more men than I really needed to if I'd have done a better job of attacking there. So we'll see what comes next. As always, thanks for watching. I welcome any and all input that you might have into this first look at the battle for Washington, D.C. I'll come back on later on today with the rest of the fight. Thanks for watching. If you'd hit that thumbs up, I would appreciate it greatly. You guys have been doing a great job of that. Please keep it up. Thanks.